Before the disciplinary hearing in which I had to answer 3 charges laid by him in disguise as charges initiated by the university, I prepared the memorandum whose content I shall share with you in a while. I shall not, because they're right at the end of the book. I was going to present as part of the preliminaries of the hearing, because then I harbored the naive confidence and fallacy that the university's disciplinary procedures were going to be followed to the letter, and that I was going to be accorded a fair hearing. Now here I've got to refer to a review that was sent to me by a second professor extraordinary at the University of Pretoria. And one line said that this book is well written, but sometimes a tad excessive, and it opens the author to litigation. And that is the battle I'm prepared to fight to the end. But then I skip to the next paragraph. I should have been alerted by a dramatic event which happened on the evening of 29th May 2007, the day before the scheduled hearing, that something inexplicable was going on. But when you are still blinded by the noble idea that educated people in universities would not resort to underhand means of solving problems, you become deaf and blind to reality. This is also when you have spent half of your 50 years of life as a student, academic, and manager in different universities in South Africa and overseas. You labor under the fallacies that universities are among the oldest and most civilized institutions in the world. And I bet you they are not. At about 5 in the afternoon, I called the office of the person who was going to represent me at the disciplinary hearing. Good Friday Mhlongo was not here. A junior lecturer in the Department of English. Someone may wonder why I should elect a junior person to represent me. The answer is clear, that he had experience in representing members of staff in labor issues as the shop steward. He was also a member of the executive committee of the National Tertiary Educational Staff Union, TESU. Moreover, I could not think of anyone senior at the Val campus who would be brave enough to represent me in a matter where the Vice Chancellor and campus rector were to appear as witnesses. Now, I'll skip one paragraph. Then I come to this dramatic part. You don't expect this in a university. At about 20 minutes past 6, I locked my door and wheeled my trolley back to the car parking grounds, holding the laptop in my left hand. Since the investigation of corruption that started on campus, I made it a point to carry, or rather pull the bag on its wheels wherever I went on campus, for I have evidence was the key to the whole process, and you don't want anyone to find it in my office just in case of intrusion. As it was winter, by 6 o'clock it was already dark, and when I approached the parking area, I was struck by the presence of a white Opel Astra, which was parked about 20 meters from my car, facing the opposite direction. Alarm bells rang in my head. What made me suspicious was the engine of the car was idling, and I'd never seen a car of that make and model at that parking area before, let alone at that time of the evening. And then, of course, I described the cars that would be normally parked at that time, and I skipped that part. It was a peculiar coincidence that no car was there except the strange one. The place was deserted. The parking area was pitch dark and solitary, and there was neither moonlight nor artificial lighting. I'm not in any way implicating so-and-so and so-and-so for any ulterior intent. I leave it to the common sense of the reader to make up his own conclusions. Their absence that evening might have been a coincidence. I don't know. I walked slowly to my car, hoping that the white vehicle would drive away, but it did not. I unlocked my car manually, went to the boot, opened it, and put the bag in first, then the laptop. I was careful not to betray my suspicion to the occupants of that car, so I kept them in the corner of my eye without checking the registration numbers of the car, for that might have alerted the 2 occupants that I was on red alert. And I had a car chase in a university campus. I shall skip the end of that part and move on to the next part, where now the following day I appear at the scene that was supposed to be the place of my disciplinary hearing. And behold, the main witnesses who were senior managers of the university were not there. Now one could imagine what went on in my mind. Was I really meant to be there or not? I skipped some part and summarized the next part, where, on returning from the scene where the main witness did not appear, I went back to the campus and found officials who were appointed by the university searching my office, looking for the laptop. That is in a university. And the way the way in which they behaved was quite not becoming of officials who were associated with the university. And then I was served with a suspension letter. I just share with you my laughter, so to speak, sad laughter if you wish. When I looked at the suspension letter, I was meant to have been suspended 2 hours before the hearing. I was meant to be banned from entering the university property before the hearing. So what was going on here? I leave it to your imagination. And then I'll just go to the parts that I have noted here, if you bear with me. Because as I said, I didn't want to present a straightforward academic lecture. Let me go to a part on page 96. Because these issues have to do with what the mergers and incorporation had to achieve. And I was role-playing that. I believed that the mergers were going to bring a kind of transformation, and I thought that I was going to be a meaningful player and play a positive role. But that was not for my comfort, zero for my comfort. On page 96, I read parts. I'm sorry this part will mention people, but this is a public document already been bought here and abroad, so there's no point in holding back. Indeed, talking about one woman here. Faith, like everyone else, did get a salary after we incorporated from Sebokeng into the Val Triangle campus of Northwest University. Indeed, Faith, like everyone else, did get a salary despite not signing a demotion contract. Faith is the black woman here. After we settled in our new home, one of the tasks which were to round off with regard to the incorporation of the Vista Sebokeng campus was the finalization of job descriptions. Again, the HR that the Vice Chancellor talked about. 6 months into the opening of the new Northwest University, 5 ex-Vista staff members were still without job descriptions. And these were Maschabat Gladys Kasipe, Lindiwe Malape, Honimo Hapi, Levi Mofokeng, and Faith Hosan. I wrote a memo to the Val Triangle campus insisting that this should be attended to as a matter of priority. I was promised that attention would be given to these people as soon as possible. I knew that Faith's position was going to be problematic. For mention names, Betty Fessel had already put San Heldenes in charge of the library and had told staff that they had to report to her. Job descriptions were prepared for the other 5, and when all was done, Faith's remained outstanding. In the meantime, she did not mince her words in telling Bertie that she was not going to report to San. I realized that the time for me to intervene had come, for the problem was being prolonged while San behaved as if Faith did not exist. I raised the matter with Pete Prinsloo, who was then the campus principal. Being biased in favor of San, he decided to refer the matter to the institutional HR office at Potchefstroom. In the meantime, I was told that it was recorded in the Val Management Committee meeting that a senior post would be advertised and faced